Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here. It is Biscuits and SEC Live. We are coming to you on September 17th. What a beautiful night it is to talk some football. We got a lot going on. Week 3, we had a lot of fun in week 3. Tons going on. May not have been as fun for you if you're a Florida fan or a Vols fan, but we will get into that soon. We've also got CRUZ OXENREIDER, the Alabama meme king, who has been around for a long time. If you've checked him out on social media, always coming out with some funny and interesting memes every week with what's going on. Whoa, got the dog going on.
Yeah,
right?
I got the dog going, but I'm good. I'm good. Excited to talk football. Week 3 was the best week we've seen thus far. I mean, there was a lot of – I wrote about it in the newsletter Friday, I believe, going into it about the narratives that could be reinforced or broken. You know, A&M can't win on the road. Billy Napier's job is already lost. And I think we got some answers to some of those, so I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah, without a doubt. So before we get started, as always, everybody, please go and sign up for the Morning Biscuits newsletter, the newsletter that Hammer just mentioned. Comes to you on Mondays and Fridays during the season. You can go right now to biscuitssec.com/newsletter to check it out. Comes to you free as well. So sign up for free. Check it out. Lets you know what's going on around the SEC, everything that's going on during the season. And then we also do it as well during the offseason, just kind of give you a rundown of what's going on in college baseball, what's going on elsewhere around the SEC, transfer portal talk, college football changes in the rules, college football playoffs, and changes with all that. So keeps you informed on what's going on around the SEC and around the country in college sports and the biggest stories that are there. So we have a big show tonight, so we got to really get into it quickly. We got to start hammering through some of these games in week 3. So that we can get to our picks with CRUZ. We've got 5 SEC games this week, and then we'll pick one out of conference, which we'll reveal later because the SEC slate is always good, but we've got some cupcakes this week. So we have a fun out of conference game that we'll have CRUZ pick, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. If you did not read our recaps, if we don't get to a game that you want us to get to, we did a full recap of last week, the week 3 recap. That is up now on biscuitsandsec.com. So be sure to go and check that out. But we had some massive games in week 3. The first one that we got to get to here happened on Rocky Top. That one was Georgia and Tennessee. And what an incredible game that was. I mean, Joey Aguilar, Gunnar Stockton, they both came out firing on all cylinders. It was an incredible game from start to finish. So what did you see from this one, Hammer? What did you take away from it? I mean, there was really a lot that I think can be said about this game.
Absolutely. I think there's a ton of takeaways on both sides. So, you know, to plug our website again, the week 3 recaps, just for all y'all out there, I went 11-1 last week against the spread. So I'm going to be tooting my own horn.
You did.
If you've been following us for a while, you know we make our picks on SEC After Dark Thursday nights. I finished dead last year in picks against the spread, so this will not continue. But in the immediate, future, until my picks go into the garbage, like they certainly will, I'm going to toot my own horn here. But anyway, I say all that to say, I picked Georgia to win this one and cover, which ultimately they did not. But I picked Tennessee to cover. I just thought that it was going to be a really tough game for Georgia offensively to go into Rocky Top. And I also thought Tennessee was going to have a lot of trouble offensively. So although my prediction came, true on the pick sheet, this game was not at all how I thought it would go. I was worried about Gunnar Stockton in this spot, and I was worried about Joey Aguilar, and both of those guys did nothing but really, really impress. I mean, Gunnar Stockton, 23 of 31, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns with another 38 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. That 4th down throw that he made with the game on the line, the back shoulder fade to the corner of the end zone. I mean, just stones on that kid in that spot to make that throw. And then Aguilar on the other side, I mean, he was throwing the ball all over the field. Now, some of those May not go Tennessee's way later in the year because they were, a bit underthrown here and there, but credit to him for just giving his player a chance, and guys like Chris Brazzell going up there and making plays. I mean, Aguilar finished with 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown, so 5 total TDs. He did have 2 picks, but I was impressed with both of these offenses. Georgia fans have been clamoring for Mike Bobo to figure something out, and I think he did. They ran the ball well. Gunnar Stockton looks good. You and I were beating that drum preseason that I think this kid's going to be pretty good. Not a Heisman winner, but pretty darn good, and he showed that. So I think there's a lot of good takeaways for both teams, and ultimately the result. Give credit to Georgia for continue to push. It's a Kirby Smart team. They're never going to give an inch, and they are going to keep coming for 4 quarters. And they did that, and Tennessee had a chance with the field goal at the end, and they missed it. And, that's the way the cards fell that day. But a phenomenal game, and I think both teams have a lot to build on moving forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. In terms of this Georgia defense going into the year, I was thinking, they're probably going to be a little bit better than people think. People are saying, they're not the Georgia defense of old. And I kept looking down their roster and thinking, my gosh, there's still 4 and 5 stars all over this roster, on that side of the ball. Josh Heupel, known for offense, but giving up 41 points to Tennessee, even if you're Georgia, is a little bit worrisome. Same thing with Tennessee on the other side, giving up 44 points to Georgia, a little bit worrisome. But to some degree, that's just life in the SEC now. These teams are scoring a ton of points. I mean, let's go back last year to the Alabama-Georgia game, right? I mean, absolute shootout. So you're going to have to be able to win some of these shootouts in the SEC, and Georgia gets the job done here. Got to tip your hat here to Chris Brazzell, 177 yards of that 371 that Joey Aguilar tossed. Pretty unbelievable. 3 TDs for Chris Brazzell. Braylon Staley had 97 yards on 9 receptions. So the receptions leader for the Vols in this one, just their receiving core is really starting to step up. Mike Matthews also stepping up. He had 5 catches for 59 yards. They were just tossing the rock all over the field. And I think at this point, after watching them against Georgia, we can easily say Joey Aguilar is an upgrade at QB over Nico Iamaleava. It's very obvious at this point. It seems like he is grasping the offense. He's throwing it with confidence, which we didn't always see that from Nico last year. That's a big what if. What if Nico had stayed? What would it have looked like? Frankly, I don't think it would have looked as good as it does right now. So I think Tennessee fans have to be really excited about the trajectory of this team, even with a loss to Georgia in heartbreaking fashion. Everybody in the stadium, if you've seen the videos, thought that he made the kick at the end, and the kicker missed it, unfortunately, for Vols fans. But yeah, got to credit Gunnar Stockton here. What a game he played. I also want to mention, too, that Georgia rushed for 198 yards total as a team. Gunnar Stockton, 13 carries for 38 yards and a TD, as you mentioned. Nate Frazier, 14 carries for 73 yards. They also had Chauncey Bowens rush for 12 carries for 32 yards. They were, it was kind of the stable, and they were rotating guys through. But 198 yards on the ground for Georgia. There's been issues with the Georgia running game here in the last couple of years. It hasn't looked like the Georgia of old. There's much has been said about that. But against a solid Tennessee defense, you got to like where this Georgia team is at in terms of running the ball and being multiple and, being able to go run or pass. You have to have a lot of confidence now if you're a Georgia fan. So good win overall from the Dawgs, but you can't be too disappointed if you're a Tennessee fan.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. And I think you're right. The run game is a welcome sign for Georgia. As much as we were high on Gunnar Stockton, I think we both were also pumping the, run game as a needed element. He's not someone who's going to put the team on his back and carry them. He needs help there, in the run game delivered in their biggest test of the year.
Exactly. So that is good on that one. We had another huge game here, a little bit of out of conference action. Texas A&M went to Notre Dame. Notre Dame went to College Station last year. A&M returned the favor in a home and home. And what a massive game over on NBC. I mean, this one, another shootout, knockdown, drag-out fight. One team throws a punch, the other one punches twice as hard. you had no idea how this one was going to end up until truly the very end, literally, quite literally, as A&M scored with, I think it was 3 seconds left or whatever it was, on the catch to Nate Borkesher. But I mean, I just can't say enough about this game. As Aggies, obviously we were watching this game and through the roof excited when Borkesher caught that ball. But anyway, what did you take away from this game? Lots to talk about on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, being Aggies, I think we all said this, in the various group texts that we're in. At no point in that final drive did I expect us to get down there and make that play, because so many times that A&M is in that situation and just comes up short. And that feels like the theme of the entire Jimbo Fisher era, as well as the Sumlin era before that. So a win like this on the road against a very good Notre Dame team is something that can really jumpstart a season, but also a tenure for Mike Elko, because A&M was very aware of the fact that they had not, won a road game against a team that finished ranked at the end of the year since 2014. And, the jury is out on Notre Dame. I think they're a good team. I think they will absolutely finish ranked and have a good chance of going 10-2 with the rest of their schedule. But what this game showed me is a couple things. One, the A&M culture, or just the way that they play under Elko is better. They are not going to stop. They are built for these 12-round knockout, drag out brawls, and they finally have the firepower on offense to keep pace. Mario Craver, 207 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's really where I think the game turned when he had that 86-yard reception early in the game, where it was a message to Notre Dame and the country that, hey, we've got dudes and we are going to make plays, and we are not going to have this offense that we have had for the last, decade plus that's just sort of plodding, methodical. They have big playability, and Marcel Reed is confident back there. He definitely, he was 17 of 37, so he missed a lot of throws. However, he takes shots. He's not afraid to throw the ball downfield, and A&M finally has the receivers that can go up and get it downfield. They can make plays in the short passing game and turn it into big plays with yards after catch. And I think with what Colin Klein did in that game and the weapons that he has, I do think this A&M offense is going to be very tricky to stop moving forward. And to finish on this point for A&M, as I said, this is not a game that A&M has been winning, clearly. And, to re-emphasize that, they had, I think, 13 penalties. I mean, they were totally shooting themselves in the foot.
Yep.
They had a holding penalty, call a touchdown back on the kick return. They had a punt blocked for a touchdown. I mean, you don't win games like that typically. If you're on the road against a top 10 team and you give up a special teams touchdown, you have a special teams touchdown taken off the board, and you have double-digit penalties, that is not a game most teams win. So the fact that A&M was able to get it done despite all of that is a very good sign moving forward, because you get a massive win, and you can also look back at the tape and go, guys, we gave them, a lot in this game. And if we clean that up, we win by multiple scores. Easier said than done, but it's a good position to be in. They didn't play some miracle perfect game and win. They played a very, very flawed game and still came out with a win.
I think that's the story of the game, is that this A&M team is talented enough and also has the mindset, the mindset is the piece that has been missing for at least a decade, probably through two different coaches with Sumlin and with Jimbo Fisher. Is they didn't have the grit and the mettle to be down. They were down in this game twice in the first half by 10 points. And as Aggies, we're kind of sitting back. We're like, yeah, okay, we're very talented again, but here we go. Here comes 8-4. We're not going to be able to get it done on the road. This is Notre Dame's a very good team. We match up very well with them in terms of talent. maybe they're slightly more talented than us, but that's splitting hairs. But yet again, we're not going to be able to get it done. And instead, this team shows you. I mean, like you said, an extremely flawed game. They had 13 penalties for 86 yards, multiple the offensive line had multiple false starts. So, and Marcel Reed, you mentioned, I think you said 17 of 37 for two TDs and an INT. He played an efficient game. He hit some really big shots. He made it count when he had to, but he also missed multiple deep shots. I mean, at least two, maybe three that were wide open. Guys should have been hit, and they would have been touchdowns, walk-in touchdowns if he hits them. So you have to come away from this game thinking that, all right, we are talented and we have the mindset to be able to beat teams like Notre Dame. We went on the road. We got a massive win over a top 10 team. And now if we can shore up some of these things, the penalties, if we can get, Marcel Reed just a little bit more dialed in, if we can really get this offensive line, cut out the mistakes, cut out the BS, which, at home you would hope you should be able to do. It was loud in South Bend, so there was a little bit of communication issues. So if you can clean that stuff up, you're looking ahead at your SEC schedule, and you have to be really confident about what you have coming forward. I mean, I'll pull up the Aggies schedule here because we talked about this in the preseason. The first 6 games of A&M's schedule set up very nicely, and a lot hinges on this Notre Dame game. If they come out of this one 2-1, it could hinge a little bit. If they come out 3-0, man, look at that. So Auburn coming up after a bye week, that sets up nicely. Auburn has this game against Oklahoma this weekend, so they'll be coming off that game, which who knows? It's an SEC game. You're probably going to get beat up whether you win or not. Mississippi State looks much improved. However, you have to feel good about playing them at Kyle Field. Florida looks down. So, and then Arkansas, you've owned Arkansas for your entire time so far in the SEC. So you really could come out of this. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. Each one of these games has its own faults and perils ahead, and Auburn has had your number at times, and the road team has done very well in the series with A&M and Auburn since A&M joined the conference in 2011 or 2012. But all that to say, it looks really good for A&M to potentially be 6-0 or 7-0 going into the rest of that slate, which gets difficult towards the end of the year with Texas at the end and LSU on the road. So
yeah, you're right. I mean, like you said, you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but you like where you're at and how you have played. And we talked about this going into the Notre Dame game. It felt like what the offense was trying to do was establish Marcel Reed, get him confident, get those pass catchers comfortable, confident in the offense. They did run the ball, I wouldn't say well, but you don't really expect to against the Notre Dame defense, but they ran the ball a lot more. I mean, Le'Veon Moss had 20 carries, right? You and I and all Aggie fans in the first 2 games are like, where's Moss? Why aren't they giving him the ball? Well, turns out when you're playing a big team and it really matters, he's getting the rock, and he had 3 touchdowns in the game. So, and if you look at that schedule, you brought it up, but Florida looks worse than you thought they would. Auburn, probably about the same. I think most people expected them to be improved. They look improved. Mississippi State improved, but that's a 2-10 team a year ago. You still have to feel good. Arkansas looks, I would say, about what we expected, maybe slightly better. LSU, I don't really know what to say about them. South Carolina looks a lot worse. Texas looks a lot worse. So, Missouri looks better. So it's kind of give and take, but the teams that look better, let's say Arkansas, Mississippi State, Mizzou, are teams that A&M has done quite well against, with the exception of Mississippi State. But those are teams that, at least on paper, are not as talented. So that doesn't really mean anything. And A&M has shown that plenty over the years. But it does set up very well if they can just continue to play, like that on offense and then clean up the penalties. They'll be in a very good spot.
Without a doubt. So you just mentioned one of those teams that A&M is going to play, and they play Florida before they have to play LSU. So let's get into that game. Florida went to Baton Rouge And their defense, yet again, played very well, held LSU to just 13 offensive points. LSU gets a pick six, which gives them a 20-10 win. DJ Lagway has 5 picks. He just frankly looks lost right now, which has to worry Florida fans. I mean, as if they weren't worried already. They're extremely worried now. We got about 10 to 12 minutes before we bring on Cruz for our guest picker. But tell me a little bit about what you saw in this game, kind of what your thoughts were coming out of this one, and then we'll hit a couple other games before we get Cruz on.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the story of this game is, as you brought up, it's the LSU defense, and then it's just Florida and whatever they got going on. Because I want to give credit to LSU for getting the win. Obviously, Brian Kelly really wants to get credit for getting the win, and I don't blame him. I'm not going to bag on him for the press conference.
He's right. I'm with him. Yeah,
he is. But LSU's defense looks very good. I think part of that is Florida. I mean, they just put up 16 at home against USF. So I think LSU's defense is much improved. I think we can confirm that. However, Clemson, Florida, and Louisiana Tech, I don't really think any of those are great offenses. So I would temper a little bit of the expectations there. I think they're probably a top 25 defense in the country, but we just saw this past weekend, I think Notre Dame's a top 25 defense. I think Georgia is a top 25 defense, and elite offenses will score. So if I'm wrong on LSU's defense, or excuse me, even if I'm right, I think there will be games where the offense has to step up, and that's where I would be worried, and that's what that guy brought up in the post game is what's going on with the offense and why can't you run the ball? It turns out Garrett Nussmeier's got a little bit of an injury situation going, which doesn't really surprise me just given how he's looked, which is out of sorts, out of sync. But we brought that up coming into the year is like, hey, he struggled with some stuff last year. And a big reason we thought he struggled last year was LSU couldn't run the ball. And coming into this year, why are they going to be able to run the ball when they're replacing multiple NFL draft picks on their offensive line? And it turns out I don't really think they can run the ball. Now, I do think Florida's defense is good. So I'm not, I'm not totally going to bag on LSU here. I just think they need to get their offense figured out one way or the other. And I think their defense will keep them in most games. There's a few, like I said, maybe where you run into an offense that can score 30 plus on them. But for the most part, I think the LSU Tiger defense this year will be able to hold teams, under 30 in SEC play. On the Florida side, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I did bring up a lot this offseason, the lack of practice reps for Lagway, missing spring, missing fall camp. But I mean, that wasn't even, I just, again, I don't know what to say. They're lost, and I don't know. I mean, they were in that game, and they should have ran the ball. I mean, Jaden Ball's a good running back. He's averaging 6.5 yards a carry on the season. I know LSU was making it tough, but I just have to think that Napier, like many coaches we've seen in the past, including our former coach, Jimbo Fisher, who ultimately did give up play calling, but took him long enough. I think Napier's in over his head with calling plays and trying to run that entire operation. And I think their offense is completely lost. Lagway is lost. And I really don't know where they turn from here, because you look down their schedule, they're going to Miami this weekend. They have a road trip to A&M coming up. I mean, it's brutal, and it doesn't get any easier.
No, that was the big thing before the season we were all talking about, right? And a lot of people were high on Florida, and myself included. I thought they were going to have a much better year than what we've seen so far. And mostly because, you got DJ Lagway, you got some good returning receivers, you've got this is a talented team, and you think the defense is going to be pretty solid. They brought in some decent transfers on defense, and the defense has been solid. The defense is you should be 3-0 based on what the defense is doing, but your offense is just completely peeing the bed. I mean, and DJ Lagway, frankly, the guy who you thought was going to be the guy, and who I have said many times on this show, DJ Lagway is the truth. Well, the truth is right now, DJ Lagway is not playing well, and it does not look good there in Florida. And again, like you said, looking down their schedule, it's like, man, I don't know where the wins come if they continue to play like this.
Yeah, I mean, and to take my point for a little bit further, I just looked up some stats. So I was saying, if you're Florida, I wish you would have run the ball more. Jaden Ball's a good running back. Well, Jaden Ball in this game, 10 carries for 46 yards, 4.6 yards a carry. DJ Lagway threw the ball 49 times. As a team, Florida ran the ball 27. So Lagway had 9 carries for 19 yards, and Ball had 10 for 46. So on the day, they finished with 79 yards, 2.9 yards a carry. But this is something I have heard Cole Kubelik harping on in his weekly recaps, which are really fantastic because unlike us, he grinds tape and played the game and knows a lot and knows what he's talking about. And one of the things he keeps bringing up about LSU is, you hear from LSU fans or whoever around that program saying, well, we just can't really run block. We're not running the ball well. And his contention is you're not trying to run the ball well. You look at the game at the end of the game and you've thrown it 60 to 70% of the time and ran it. Well, same with Florida. This is basically a 1-score game or at most 2 scores, most of the second half. They were never in a position where they had to throw the ball to get back in the game. And yet your quarterback is totally lost. He can't do anything. He's making awful decisions. And you look up at the end of the game, you lose 20-10 and you throw the ball 49 times and run it 27. I mean, that's just bad play calling, truthfully. And ultimately, if they tried to run the ball and lost this ball game, like at least you went down swinging, right? At least you went down and said, hey man, we tried to overpower them in the trenches and couldn't get it done. Hats off. Instead, you go, well, we tried to throw it and we threw 5 picks because after the second, third, fourth, fifth one, I didn't think we needed to make an adjustment. I thought we should just keep doing the same thing when clearly it's not working. So I don't know what to say about Florida anymore. We had this conversation about Napier last September, thought he was done. Maybe he pulls a rabbit out of a hat again, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either right now. So let's get to Ole Miss, a team that Florida beat last year and knocked them out of the playoff pretty much. So Ole Miss played Arkansas, another shootout of a game. Arkansas, yet again, kind of shoots themselves in the foot. Seems like it's been a theme for a while now under Sam Pittman, unfortunately, for the folks in Fayetteville. But fantastic game, a lot of fun. And you had Trinidad Chambliss come in for Austin Simmons, and he just lights it up to the point where folks in Oxford are kind of starting to wonder, like, hey, I mean, Austin Simmons, we were all excited about him coming into the year, but we just watched this guy torch Arkansas and look extremely confident. Maybe he's the guy. Seems like Austin Simmons is going to play this week, and it seems like, everything is going to be okay. He's going to have the starting job, but, I mean, awesome game from Trinidad Chambliss nonetheless, and a fun game to watch overall.
Yeah, super fun. We talked about this going into that game, that this game is always fun. It's back and forth. It's ridiculous and drunk every year, it feels like. And yeah, I mean, credit to Lane Kiffin and that offensive staff for getting Trinidad Chambliss ready to go. I mean, a D2 transfer from Ferris State, and he looks like a SEC veteran, had 0 problems.
Yeah.
And then, on the Arkansas side, I mean, Taylon Green played fantastic. He's really good. Bobby Petrino's calling a good offense there. I think they're 7-18 in 1-score games under Pittman now. And you brought it up. I mean, I thought they were going to win because they were down 6. All they needed, was a score. Didn't look like Ole Miss was going to stop them. And then sure enough, Arkansas stops themselves with a fumble. And I mean, you talk about narratives. We talked about some of them earlier, changing narratives. Unfortunately, Arkansas lived up to their narrative that they find ways to lose those games rather than win them. And sucks for Arkansas fans, but for the Rebs, I mean, good for them. You get a win with your backup against a solid team, and you're still undefeated and keep rolling.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, let's talk about Vandy and South Carolina here real quick, and then we'll get our friend Cruz on here to talk about the Week 4 action that's coming up. But we had to talk a little bit about what happened in Columbia. I mean, Lenore Sellers goes out, doesn't really play in the second half. Didn't play at all, I believe, in the second half. Went out late in the second quarter. So maybe things are a little bit different. He was playing pretty well up to that point. But even still, Vanderbilt lays the hurt on the Gamecocks, 31-7 in Columbia. And yeah, sorry, Mike, you may want to just put your fingers in your ears for this segment here, but it was another impressive win by Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia just keeps rolling, and they've put everybody on notice. They're 3-0 now. And hand up, I keep betting against them. I keep saying they're not going to do much, and I picked them to go 4-8 this year. They're about to prove me wrong again. So, give me a couple takeaways from this one.
Yeah, I mean, takeaways would just mostly be kind of what you said, that Vandy looks really, really good. Diego Pavia is such a veteran. He runs that offense to perfection week in and week out. Their defense, I think, is a lot stronger than we've seen in years past. And yeah, I mean, the Sellers injury, I don't think changes the outcome of this game. It's perhaps closer, but bottom line is Vanderbilt is just a better team, and it is a better team. I mean, we said going into the game, they both played Virginia Tech. Vanderbilt beat them a lot worse in Blacksburg than South Carolina did. Like, why is South Carolina favored in this game? I know it was in Williams-Bryson at night, but I mean, Vanderbilt is just not intimidated by that kind of stuff. Obviously, they continue to show that they're unbothered by that. Even if they lose games, it's not because they're too small for the moment. So they're just a better team right now. And South Carolina has a lot of work to do because they just don't seem like they have it figured out. I don't know if the Mike Shula offensive coordinator hire is panning out the way they hoped. Even with Sellers in there, they have looked a little bit disjointed and lost most of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I was worried a little bit about the talent that surrounded Lenora Sellers going into this season. I wasn't sure if they were as talented as last year, and that seems to also be playing a bit of a factor here as well. So, okay, if you want to check out the rest of our recaps, go to biscuitsandsec.com. We've got our week 3 recaps up, which you can read a little bit more. We go a little bit more in depth there on the rest of the games in the SEC from week 3. So, all right, let's get in CRUZ OXENREIDER here. He is our guest picker here for week 4. We're excited to have him on. There he is. We got him. CRUZ, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
We're doing good. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, not a problem. You guys caught me at the right time and just got back. Was in Tuscaloosa this weekend, and then I actually had a little pit stop. Went to Nashville. Got to go to my first Titans game. So had a good time doing that, and then now I'm back in real life. So
nice, man. That's awesome.
Love
Hey,
it.
Nashville's always a good time. I'm sure you got over to Broadway. Did you get any of those fun bars over there to watch any of the games after the Titans game?
Yeah, we did. So we caught Chiefs Eagles, and then we caught the night game as well. Broadway is always a good time. I mean, Nashville's great. I hope to actually be there full time, pretty in the next couple months, honestly. So always a good weekend. Now I'm in full recovery mode. The Bama's on a bye week, so don't have a lot going on. And now I'm going to recuperate and get ready for it was my bye week as well.
Right.
Hey, we know how that goes, man. Yeah, you get a little breather. You can just watch the other games with no rooting interest and just kind of relax for a week. So
I was stress-free. I love it.
That's right. Well, if you guys don't follow CRUZ, go follow him at The Real CRUZ Ox. He is a big-time SEC account, Bama fan, obviously, and we followed him for a long time. Does some great jobs. Does a great job on the SEC meme front. So be sure to go check him out.
If you follow SEC football, you 100% have seen my memes, and you either love them or you hate them.
That's the truth. That's good. That means that you're doing your job right, though. So
it does actually.
Okay, so here's our picker standings. We had Rivers Huey on last week, and she went 4-2. She did pretty dadgum good, to be honest with you there. She picked Arkansas to cover and Vandy to cover, which both of those picks ended up good. And then she missed on Notre Dame, which Hank and I, Hammer and Boss Man over here, were pretty happy to hear. And then she also had UGA covering, which Tennessee ended up covering that one in a tight one. And then we had Daily Joy on for week 2, and she went 2-4. So That's what she gets for going against the SEC teams, which she mentioned on our show. But all right, so Cruz, let's get into it here. Let's talk Bama and Wisconsin to start. I don't want to pick this game, obviously. I just want to get your thoughts first on Alabama, where they're at, and then, the Wisconsin game and how that went.
Yeah, this is very uncharted territory for us. We, first home week 1 loss, and since Bush was still in office. It's crazy. Some of these kids who go to school there now weren't even alive the last time Bama lost a week 1 game. So it's definitely different uncharted territory. However, though, they did bounce back. 73-0 win, something Saban never even did, even got in the 70s and winning by that large of a margin. Wisconsin, I kind of figured this game was going to go the same way it went last year. I think Wisconsin's a proud program. I think they pop out a lot of good NFL tight ends and offensive linemen. But, I think when you look at just a talent standpoint, there was a no-brainer what was going to happen. I think, too, I loved watching how poised our offense looked. We looked good without really being too flashy. I mean, I know we had the flea flicker play, which that was set up beautifully. In real time, it looked like that play took 20 seconds to set up. I went back and actually rewatched the game, and it was executed to perfection. I thought Ryan Williams looked back to being like his old self, which was great, getting healthy, and then, getting a massive game against Wisconsin, 2 touchdowns, had probably one of the best plays of the weekend, making a defender look absolutely silly. And then, of course, the rest of the offensive wide receiver room looks great. Ty looks like a totally different quarterback. He looks poised. He looks accurate. He looks like everything you want him to be, especially from that week 1 loss, even though he was not the reason why Florida State beat Alabama. And people who were blaming him and calling for his head, just don't watch enough football to understand how much he was running for his life and, going into a hostile territory like Florida State, a program that has desperately needed a win like that for a long time. So I like what we're at. Obviously, the Monster Showdown in 2 weeks is going to determine a lot. Same as last year. I was at the game last year, and it had that national championship feel. Like you felt like it was a playoff game. The atmosphere being in Athens, obviously it was probably game of the year. We all remember the Ryan Williams play. I mean, honestly, it shouldn't have been that. As a Bama fan, we were up, I believe, 35-7 or around that time. I know it was 28-0 in the blink of an eye. They batted back a little bit. So this will be interesting. We haven't been to Athens in 10 years. It'll be almost 10 years. So the last time we played them in Athens in 2015, and it was a monsoon game. And I thought Derrick Henry in that time, we were pretty uncertain too. A lot of people picked us to lose that game. I remember going into that. I want to say we were about 7-point underdogs going into that game, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, we went in there, took care of business. Now, granted, totally different era. Kirby wasn't there. There's Mark Ricks last year. So I really need to see what Kalen DeBoer has in store for this team to get a bye week. He's incredible off the bye week. And he's 6-0 against Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, and Kirby Smart. I want to see 7-0. So this next week, I'm so excited. I might be there. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'd say right now I'm at about a B. I think right now Bama was a B. That week 1 loss was a really tough one to swallow, but I like how we've bounced back and how different this attitude looks in the first 2 weeks of the season, or the first 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, if it ends up being a blackout game like they're talking about,
please,
I
think we all remember what happened the last time that happened.
That's right.
Exactly. Right. I'm surprised Kirby didn't just shut that as soon as he heard the first rumor of it. Be like, guys, no, we're not doing this.
He was the DC that game too against Matthew Stafford, Noshawn Moreno, and AJ Green. I mean, it was truly one of those moments where you're like, oh damn, like this is happening. I mean, it was Georgia. I think it was picked to win the Natty that year in 2008. I think they were a preseason number 1, or it was either them or USC, if I'm not mistaken. That was that weekend where every big team lost. It was like USC lost to Oregon State, Florida lost to Ole Miss, and there were some other crazy ones that happened too. And then Alabama just stood out of the pack. And then they were like, okay, yeah, we're number one for the rest of it.
Yeah, we're running the table. All right, let's get into some picks, man. Hammer, let me let you set this one up. Let's get into Florida and Miami.
Yeah, okay. So Cruz, we talked right before you hopped on here about Florida. They seem completely lost. Meanwhile, Miami looks pretty darn good. I mean, Carson Beck is surprising me with how he's playing. I didn't know how he would look after that elbow surgery, but it seems totally fine. He's got like a 185 QBR right now, almost 80% completion percentage. And again, Florida is totally lost. So Miami's 8.5 here. Kind of seems a little low to me, but I know Florida's defense is playing well. What is your read on this game, and who do you think covers or wins the game here?
This game is probably the trickiest one of the bunch, just because a lot of people had Florida high expectations this year. DJ Lagway was my pick to win Heisman. I thought I knew Florida wouldn't be 9-3. I thought realistically they were going to go 8-4. And DJ was just going to have to carry that team to the finish line. And it looks like the complete opposite right now. I think Billy right now, I wouldn't be surprised. This game goes either way. I could see Florida, overachieving, hearing on the noise, going into South Beach and winning, or I could see Billy Napier underneath the ESPN ticker the next day saying has been fired from the head coach at University of Florida. Carson Beck looks great. I mean, the Notre Dame game, then you go out the next week, take care of business. Then you play a USF team that has bullied Florida in the Swamp week 2. And then they beat Boise State, who a lot of people repicked to go back to the playoffs. And they decimated them. Yeah. I think right now it would be irresponsible not to take Miami in the spot. And that's someone who has never liked Miami to begin with, but Carson Beck's playing great. Offense looks like reinvented. Carson Beck looks like he got a swagger back, like that 2023 Carson Beck where he was just dotting for Georgia. Mm-hmm. I think last year he heard that, the preseason #1 draft hype, gonna win the Heisman, all this noise, getting back to it. And I think it just got to his head a little bit. I think the injuries didn't help either. I don't think Mike Bobo was the right offensive coordinator for him. So I love what he's got going here. He's got a swagger back Miami. I'm actually going to take Miami. I got him covering easy. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, totally fair. I mean, we give our picks tomorrow night on our SEC After Dark show with the whole crew, but just a little teaser. I agree with everything you said. I'm not believing in this Florida team, basically.
No, it's wild. This was a Florida team a lot of people had being a dark horse to get an at large bid, and mainly because of DJ Lagway. I will say the defense has played well, but it's the uncharacteristic mistakes from this Florida team. This defense, they should have beat USF. Got a terrible penalty for pulling a Jalen Carter in the game. That gives USF the kick, and then DJ Lagway throws 5 terrible interceptions, and then your defense is on the field the entire night. The fact that they only gave up what they gave is actually very impressive, which is why I think, hey, if they can rattle Carson Beck and if DJ can just play to the level he can, I can see this being the upset of the day. Problem is, though, I don't trust Billy Napier. I haven't trusted him in a while. As someone who got the Spurrier, and even the Ron Zook days. Even the Ron Zook days where they had this elite talent, at least they would go out and beat these teams sometimes. But this just looks like a bad Florida team.
Yeah, I am with you there. So, all right, let's get into the next one here. So, next one we got is Oklahoma and Auburn. Auburn traveling to Norman. This one's going to be fun. You got Jackson Arnold heading back to Norman for the first time, probably the only time, frankly. And then, Brent Venables knows Jackson Arnold like the back of his hand. And we call him Blackjack John Batir on this show because of all the ridiculous gambling stuff, which I don't think was true in the offseason, but still fun to mess around with. So what are you looking at in this game? I think this one's going to be probably the game of the day. There's some great games out there, but this one I'm really, really fascinated to watch.
This is probably my second game of the day. I think this, we're going to learn the outcome of this game. We're going to learn so much in the direction these two teams are going. And Auburn right now, they're at a 3-0 start. They're ecstatic. They haven't had this kind of hope in a while, but the same thing kind of happened last year where, I was like, okay, we're beating some teams. And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh man, season just imploding. Auburn didn't impress me against South Alabama. I mean, only winning by that kind of margin against no offense from the 2-5-1. I love the South Alabama Jags, but Auburn should have scored way more than what they did, and they should have put like a 50 burger on these guys. I think Oklahoma, if they can stop Jackson Arnold's rushing attack, this is going to be a long day for Auburn. Because that offense and for Oklahoma is going to be on the field all day, a lot of 3-and-outs. I want to see on the other side of things, I want to see if Jackson Arnold can actually beat Oklahoma with his arm, not his legs. Auburn's got arguably one of a top 3, top 4 wide receiver in college football in Cam Coleman. You got a variety of weapons around you. I know they have a great rushing attack so far this year. I haven't gotten a chance to see too much of Auburn outside the Baylor game, just because they really haven't played anybody. And I've gotten a chance to see Oklahoma a few times. I mean, they looked good against Michigan. They stepped out when it needs to. John Mateer is a real deal. I like Auburn in this. I like Auburn to cover in this game, but I have Oklahoma winning. I think this game comes down to a last 4-minute kind of touchdown from John Mateer. But I think this game goes deep into the fourth quarter, and I think Auburn does put up a fight. Only because of the Jackson Arnold effect. And I think they're going to try and really keep John Mateer off the field as much as possible. They're going to run the clock down. Hugh Freeze is going to play not to lose, not to win.
Yeah, I can see that. So you're going to take Oklahoma here?
I'm going to take Oklahoma to win, but I'm going to take Auburn to cover.
Got it. Okay.
Love it. Well, hopefully that pans out, because that would mean, that's a super fun game. And
I think this game will fly by. I genuinely do. I think Auburn is going to. We're probably going to see. I would say about 45 to 50 rushing attempts from Auburn.
I think you're probably right there. Yeah. So, all right, let's get to the next one. Hammer, take it away. We got Mizzou and South Carolina.
Yeah, Mizzou, South Carolina. So interesting that this is now at 11.5. I don't know what it was, before last week, but obviously with what South Carolina just looked like against Vandy and what Mizzou has looked like thus far, I'm sure this spread jumped up quite a bit. But yeah, interested in your thoughts here. I mean, kind of Bo Perbula shot onto the scene. He's looked really good. A couple cupcakes in Kansas, and then South Carolina. We talked about them before we brought you on as well, is just kind of lost. I think Sellers is, they're optimistic he'll play, but he just hasn't looked that good. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, South Carolina is probably going to be the biggest disappointment this year for me. Even in their wins, I just haven't lived up to that expectation that they had at the end of last year, where they railed off all those wins. Sellers, that injury looked bad. I'm hoping he's okay. Look, Missouri's a solid team that a lot of people aren't talking about. They're 5th in the country in rushing for over 300 yards a game. They're scoring over 50 a game. Now, I know that they haven't really played that high of competition yet, but I mean, you put 42 up against Kansas. You score 61 at home in opening week, 52 against Louisiana Lafayette. Now you get South Carolina coming into arguably one of the probably bigger home games that you've had in a while. It's a night game. As personally, I've never gotten a chance to go to a game at Missouri. We got to play them one time when I was in college, and it was a rainstorm, and I couldn't get out there. So I don't know how loud it can really get in Missouri. But South Carolina is one of those teams like Florida where they look like they're just like one bad game away from the season just tanking. Sellers really is the vocal point of that. I didn't realize how big of a loss Rocket Sanders would be for this offense. Nick Harbor has not really lived up to that expectation, that big play home run threat that all we heard about for the last 2 years. Dylan Stewart is going to have to carry this defense without Kennard on the other side. They lost a lot of talent last year, and I thought maybe with the players that they had coming back would help, but it seems like they just lost too much. And Vandy didn't just win. They blew them out. Like, I've never seen a Vanderbilt team honestly dominate that way at an away stadium like that. That's the second game in a row where Vanderbilt has put their backups in against a Power 4 team for the first time in who knows how long. Yeah. And to go into Columbia, that place rocks at night. And to do what they're doing, because even before Sellers even got hurt, I mean, it didn't seem like Vandy was going to lose that game. I like Missouri in this game. I think Missouri is going to be, I would say, I'd say they're going to be undefeated going into the Alabama game on the 11th of October, because after this they get they get UMass, then they get a bye week, and then they get Bama. So I mean, I expect them to be undefeated going into that game. So give me Missouri to cover, especially if Sellers isn't playing, because if Sellers isn't playing, that backup look completely lost out there.
Yeah, no, I love it. Believing in Drink. I feel like a lot of people doubt him, and he keeps winning ball games.
You know what's crazy is that like I was such a big fan of him the way after the Tennessee game a couple years ago, where they go in, they beat Heupel, and he talked that trash and he backed it up. And I think the last couple of years they've been a really solid program. If they would be in the Big 12, they would probably be in the playoffs the last couple of years. I mean, I think that should be a move they should look at to get out of the SEC, go back to the Big 12, because now that Oklahoma and Texas aren't there, they have a legitimate shot to run that conference for the next decade.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, all right, let's get into our next one here. This is kind of an interesting one. You got Arkansas. I don't know who's doing the scheduling in Fayetteville, but Arkansas going on the road yet again to a G6 opponent. So they're heading to Memphis. The Hogs are a 5.5-point favorite here. Memphis is not bad, by the way. Like, for folks who haven't been paying attention, Memphis is a decent team. They have Jake Retzlaff, the formerly the BY Jew.
He's Tulane.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry,
you're mixing up Tulane and Memphis.
I'm mixing it up. I'm getting
two G5 powerhouses,
right,
G4.
Right.
Yeah,
whatever. I got too many stats in my head right now and too many players. That's our next game. We'll talk about that in a second. But Memphis, they're 3-0 right now. They've won their games by an average of 26 points. Their defense has only given up 11 points a game. They have a linebacker, DeMarco Ward, who's got 2 pick sixes and 10 total solo tackles. This defense is playing really well. Arkansas is scoring right now 47.7 points per game. Mm-hmm. Bobby Petrino obviously can call it up, and Taylor Green has played pretty well through a couple games now. Played well against Ole Miss last week. Mm-hmm. So what are you looking at in this game? Does Memphis really have a chance, or do you think Arkansas covers?
Yeah, I mean, Memphis does. I mean, right now, Memphis right now is, giving up only 11 points a game on defense. However, though, their opponents are Troy, Georgia State, and Chattanooga. Mm-hmm. So that's not giving me a lot to work with. I mean, I do think Memphis is a proud program. They pulled upsets against SEC teams before. I love watching Taylor Green play football. I really do. I'm a massive fan of his. I like Arkansas in this game. I will say I think Memphis keeps this game close. I think Memphis gets a backdoor cover right now, but I think Arkansas does pull this game away only because of how explosive Taylor Green is. I mean, the fact he's already got 11 touchdowns in 3 games right now. I believe he's at over 800 yards. I mean, he's I believe he's the leading rusher on that team as well with over 300 yards already. So, I mean, he really runs that offense, and it goes through him and the way he's played so far this year. I know that they lost last week, but I mean, if you look at that game, it was an absolute shootout against Ole Miss, 41-35. I like Arkansas to win this game, but I will say Memphis gets a backdoor cover. That's going to piss off a lot of people.
Yeah, and Sam Pittman needs this game, so I think if they somehow lost it, it would be pandemonium.
I like the over in this game. I do, because I'm not impressed with Arkansas's defense so far, especially how they looked. So I like the over right now at 62.5, I believe it is.
Love it. Well, we'll move on to our next game here. So Tulane is heading to Ole Miss. So speaking of Jake Retzlaff, the former BYU quarterback, he has had a good start to the year. He's really doing all his damage with his legs. 288 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns through the first 3 games. Yeah. Obviously, Tulane took down Duke last week, and it looks like Simmons is going to come back to play for Ole Miss, and the Rebs are 12.5-point favorites here. What's your read on this one?
Man, I like Tulane a lot. I've always been a big fan of Tulane. The last couple of years, they've really put together a solid program where I think they should be in the Big 12. I do like this. I do like this Tulane offense, especially against this Ole Miss defense. I mean, Ole Miss defense compared to last year where they were just absolutely stacked. I like the fact that Tulane's got a top 25 rushing attack. They're putting up good numbers against their competition so far. Tulane just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and that is something that an Ole Miss offense will make because Lane loves to take the big shot plays. And I do think that this Tulane defense can be scored on pretty easily. However, though, I watched Arkansas and Kentucky and put up a good fight against those teams. And I think I would take Tulane over Kentucky. And I would kind of put Tulane on par with Arkansas, especially the last couple of years as far as a talent standpoint. Austin Simmons hasn't really impressed me the way I'd like to be honest. I know he's been injured, and I know he's been a little shaky, and he looks good. But I think Tulane can hang with them. I'm going to take Ole Miss in this game, but I think this ends up being the game of the day. Like, this is the one I was saying where this is going to be the game of the day. And I think it's going to be a shootout back and forth. My gut tells me Ole Miss. My heart wants to go Tulane. And you know what? Like, screw it. I didn't get where I am just going my gut. I go with my heart a lot. So, I'm gonna say Tulane. I'm gonna say Tulane pulls the upset, goes in the Oxford, shocks the Rebs. And because you know what? There's one game a year that Ole Miss they just go in and they stumble and they stub their toe and they lose. And normally it's at home. Same thing happened to Kentucky this year around the exact same time. I'm calling it this year. Tulane upsets Ole Miss. And watch this be the biggest blowout of the day.
Well, I love it. No, I appreciate you not just picking Tulane to cover, but picking the upset.
You know what?
Just
there's something about Tulane. If Tulane wears their like that their uniforms, man, it's something about them that you just want to root for them. Plus, who doesn't love New Orleans? I mean, come on.
That's the truth. Hey, look ahead game here too. I believe LSU is the week after.
It is.
So yeah. Very positive here.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's a look-ahead game. Ole Miss has this tendency to look ahead. I mean, you know what's crazy too? Ole Miss also gets Washington State as well. Like, a lot of people forget that. So it's going to go Tulane. You get LSU at home, which I love the fact that game's at 3:30, and then I get to watch Georgia Bama right afterwards. And then that next week, 11:45 kickoff versus Washington State at home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah. Pretty wild scheduling there as well. But all right, let's get into our final game here. We had to go outside of the SEC for this one. We love to pick 6 SEC games if we can, but there was, SEC teams are still playing a couple cupcakes before we get into the full brunt of the SEC schedule. So we're going to talk a little bit Illinois and Indiana here.
Yeah.
Illinois is the 9th ranked team in the country. Indiana, number 19. Indiana, obviously a playoff team a year ago. This one's kind of interesting because Indiana is a 5.5-point favorite at home, which I guess the home team, that kind of makes sense. But being 10 spots below the team that they're favored, by 5.5 points on is kind of interesting here. So you got former Ole Miss QB Luke Altmaier in his 3rd year now starting for Illinois, and Brett Bielema, former Arkansas coach there. He's done a great job at Illinois. And then for folks who didn't pay enough attention to the transfer portal, I know there's a ton going on. Obviously, I didn't either with the Jake Retzlaff mention. But Fernando Mendoza was the Cal quarterback a year ago, played very well at Cal. He's now the quarterback at Indiana, and Indiana went after him with a bag of money, I think, because there were others who were after him as well. So Illinois beat Duke 45-19, which was by far the biggest win for either of these teams. Both of them kind of haven't played anybody who's too interesting yet. At least Duke, is so-so. Duke isn't looking like what folks thought they were going to be at the start of the year. So what are you looking at here?
Honestly, I think this game is going to be a very low-scoring game. I think with the fact that Indiana has a more experienced quarterback, they're giving them more edge to, and it's at home. Bloomington has become a tough place to play. Love me some Coach Sig, former Saban guy, but Brett Bielema is a former SEC guy as well. Indiana, they have a top 4 defense in the Big Ten. Illinois around the middle of the pack. I think this game is going to be a typical Big Ten defensive game. I don't think anything sexy is going to come from this game. I am going to go Indiana in this game just because I believe they have a better quarterback. I think Sig is a better coach than Brett Bielema. But this is also a massive test for for Indiana, because last year, I mean, Indiana played 2 ranked teams. The 2 ranked teams you did beat your brains in. One at Ohio State, which, I mean, Ohio State did that to a lot of people. And then, of course, they go into South Bend and lose to that. So there are 2 losses to the teams that were in the national championship game. Not bad losses to have. But I will say that this is a big test for them. I think this place is going to be rocking. I got a lot of friends up in Chicago that went to both Illinois and Indiana. I've been hearing Hoosiers all week. I think this place is going to be rocking. I wish I could be at that game, honestly, because I feel like it'd be a great time. So you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go Indiana on this one. I think Vegas knows something that we don't.
That's kind of what I'm feeling on it too. Yeah. Seeing that 5.5 with Indiana being at home, but over, an Illinois team that's ranked 10 spots above you, it's kind of like, okay, yeah. What's Vegas know?
I will say Illinois finished really hot at the end of last year, and I know that they did bring some guys back. They had a big bowl win over South Carolina, I believe. And I think that as as preseason polls go, I mean, nothing really matters until, you really get into the thick of it. Alabama, Florida State prove that. Clemson this year has been by far the biggest disappointment with that. I think they've started preseason number 3. Now they're completely out of the top 25. Yep. So that's going to be something to really look out for. I just think Vegas knows something about this game that we don't. And that they're just hoping that, people are suckers and taking, Illinois for this, but I'm not falling for it.
I like it. Well, that's great, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. That is CRUZ OXENREIDER at the Real CRUZ Ox. You can see right there. Be sure to go follow him. Check out all his great SEC content and Alabama content as well. So thanks again, man. Really appreciate having you on tonight.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. Okay, hey, but I need to see my picks, how they do afterwards. So keep me posted on those.
Don't worry, man. We will throughout the season.
Yep.
So
see you guys.
Thanks, man.
Later, man. Keep up the good work.
Okay. There, get the right one now.
Yeah, there we go. We're back.
We're back. We got it. Okay, everybody, that was CRUZ OXENREIDER. Like we said, be sure to go follow him. That was a lot of fun doing our picks for week 4. A lot of great games on the slate. Going to be a lot of fun. So a little bit of extra football here. We're starting to get really good on time here. Sorry to everybody who wants extra football, but just a little bit tonight. So we will get into our must-champ coach of the week and then our biscuit of the week to end our show here. So for those of you who are new joining us, we got over 200 of you watching right now. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We really appreciate every single one of you. Tell your family, tell your friends about Biscuits and SEC. We have a lot of fun doing this. Do this every week on Wednesday evenings and have plenty of other content at biscuitsandsec.com and in our newsletter as well. Muschamp Coach of the Week. We love Coach Muschamp here. We think that while his tenure at South Carolina and Florida didn't end the way he would have liked to, he just loves college football, and he's punching whiteboards. He's got a ton of passion for the game, and just a coach that you would want to have in your corner, and loves his players. Every player that's ever played for him has always had great things to say about Coach Muschamp. So this award that we give out every week is in honor of Coach Muschamp. So there was a lot of nominees this week for the award. Brian Kelly, of course, in his press conference, didn't pound the table, but might as well have, going after that one reporter that he then had to apologize for. I don't think he needed to apologize, by the way. Just defending his team, defending his players in the win over Florida. So he was nominated. And then we also had, I think, the runner-up here. I want to play this video. He's not the winner, but the runner-up was Mike Elko, and this was the reason why. He was channeling Coach Muschamp in this sideline interaction. So check out this clip.
Mike Elko was defensive coordinator here in 2017. He's a defensive guy at heart, and so when his defense gives up plays, he doesn't like it.
Yeah, he told us, we asked him, how do you build great defense? He says, well, first it starts by showing players what good defense looks like. It's all 11 guys on the same page, being accountable, doing their job, and that time, he loves Des Ricks, but Des Ricks wasn't accountable to the other 10 guys, made a bad mistake. It cost their defense, and ultimately it cost them the lead in the game.
Yeah, that chair we're going to have to check on.
Throwing the chair is fantastic.
It is great. Some WWE moves there from Coach Elko. Glad he didn't hit anybody. That's good. But You also wonder, it must not have been Armaj Reed Adams' chair, because if you haven't been following A&M social media, Armaj Reed Adams comes out before every game. He holds up this chair as if he's in the WWE. And then every week, with every win they get, he adds a sticker from the team that they beat. So I don't think that was the chair, but Coach Elko, not a fan of chairs, noted. Okay, so the actual Muschamp Coach of the Week, the winner this week, is the namesake of the award. The Muschamp Coach of the Week this week goes to Coach Will Muschamp. He was at the game in Columbia, and that is his son right there. He is a backup quarterback at Vanderbilt. That is Whit Muschamp. He's a sophomore at Vandy. He was a 3-star quarterback out of Baylor School in Tennessee. So maybe we'll get to see him at some point playing quarterback for the Vanderbilt Commodores. But anyway, Coach Will Muschamp, he is still a analyst, I guess is what they're calling him. And he's an analyst for the Georgia Bulldogs. I looked it up to be sure. There's kind of been some back and forth as to whether he was. Kirby Smart confirmed it before the season. Coach Muschamp is still helping out at least somewhat with the Georgia football program, but was given a little bit of a reprieve this weekend to go watch his son and the Vanderbilt Commodores take down his old team in Columbia. And look at that smile on Coach's face, man. He was real excited to get that one in Columbia. Sorry to Mike Huseman for that one, but we had to do it. Congrats to Coach Muschamp on the Muschamp Coach of the Week. We will be sure to get out the major award and send him that, because I'm sure he would like to have that one in his office out there at Georgia.
Yeah, love it. You know, the namesake of the award being given his current role, he doesn't get a ton of chances to earn the award like this. So a little bit of social media trolling from Muschamp, well-deserved, you know, kind of sticking it to his old stomping grounds, which, you know, I don't know if there's any bad blood there, but, you know, he got fired. So I'm sure he's not in love with the place.
Yeah, I doubt he is. I think a place that's still playing him, so he gets to sit in the paying him. So I think he gets to sit in the stands and continue to get checks in, or at least he definitely got millions of dollars from them in the buyout, whether they're still paying him or not. So nice to sit back, enjoy your millions, watch your son with the clipboard and the headset during the game, and get a big win over the Gamecocks in Columbia. So that was a fun one. All right, finally, to close out the show here, we've got our Biscuit of the Week. And this one comes from a fan of the show who we are going to start calling Mr. Biscuit or Captain Biscuit, if you will, here at Biscuits SEC. He has been with us for a while now, and we can't thank him enough for watching us every week. That goes to Rick Wilmarth, who sent us in this awesome looking spread here from Eggs Up Grill in Huntsville, Alabama. That is his biscuits and gravy there with sunny side up egg on the left, fried egg on the left. And then on the right there was something I pulled from online. They've got some awesome chicken and waffles there that looks incredible. And that also looks like whipped mocha or something going on with some French toast and some bacon in the background and some orange juice and Smucker's jelly, everything you might need for a good biscuit or a good waffle there at Eggs Up Grill in Huntsville, Alabama. So thank you to Captain Biscuit, Rick Wilmarth there, for sending in the Biscuit of the Week from Eggs Up Grill in Huntsville, Alabama. If you guys are in Huntsville, make sure to make a stop by Eggs Up Grill, because I think you're seeing what I'm seeing, and it looks pretty dadgum good. So
it does. And Rick confirms, good restaurant. So yeah, if y'all are in the Huntsville area, be sure to stop by.
No doubt. Well, if you would like to be featured on the show for a Biscuit of the Week, be sure to tag us on social media. You can shoot us a DM. You can also send us an email, contact@biscuitsandsec.com. And we would love to feature your biscuit on the show. We have featured multiple friends of the show before, multiple folks who have tagged us on social media. So we love to feature those. And every once in a while, Hammer and I, Captain Biscuit there.
Yeah,
yes.
So that's
Rick,
official now. He's giving the endorsement. So Captain Biscuit is.
Love it. Okay. Oh, Mike says also okay. So Chain here in the South, they're across the footprint there. They've got two in Columbia, South Carolina, have awesome breakfast. So Eggs Up Grill across the footprint. If you are around an SEC town, make sure to look them up and maybe you can check them out and get some good biscuits. So that should do it for us tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a lot of fun. Again, CRUZ OXENREIDER, be able to go follow him on social media at The Real CRUZ Ox. We had a lot of fun picking week 4 games with him. We will be on SEC After Dark tomorrow to make our picks, which we do every Thursday night, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. So be sure to check us out tomorrow night on all the After Dark channels. We'll be here on X, on our feed, over on Stephen Willis's feed. Stephen Willis of Locked On Ole Miss, who started the After Dark Network, does a great job. Also, our friend Mike Huseman, he does Off-Season After Dark. Don't let the name fool you. He also does podcasts during the season. He's continuing to do his work. He does an amazing job over there. Recently had someone from Virginia Tech on to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Hokies, who just fired their coach, Brent Pry. And then Bama After Dark, go check them out. That is Jake Thomas of the After Dark Network. He does a great job of Bama After Dark covering the Tide. And then check out the Regular Guys pod. You can check Twitter. They're going to be on a more regular cadence here soon, but go be sure to follow them. Regular Guys pod. They talk football and they talk about all sorts of things all over the map. Get a little bit off the rails, which is a lot of fun. So as always, everybody, be sure to go sign up for the Morning Biscuits newsletter, biscuitsandsec.com/newsletter. That is written by myself and by Hammer. We write that on Mondays and on Fridays during the season. Everything you want to know about the SEC. We keep you updated on injury reports during the season, what's going on, the biggest storylines, SEC shorts, everything that you want to know about the SEC. You can find it in the Morning Biscuits newsletter, and it's free to sign up. So if you want to stay informed about what's going on across the SEC and also sometimes across the country, be sure to sign up for the Morning Biscuits newsletter. So that should do it for us tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Nearly 250 of you watching us tonight. We really appreciate each and every one of you for being with us. And we look forward to seeing you again right here next week at 7 Eastern, 6 Central for Biscuits and SEC Live. And you can check out the rest of our work at biscuitsandsec.com. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for SEC After Dark. For Hammer, I am Boss Man. This was Biscuits and SEC Live.
Appreciate y'all.